Hello and welcome to Uncover the Future of Managing Files on Google Cloud. Today's webinar is sponsored by NetApp and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A and we will provide further technical assistance. Now, next, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources, and I'd especially like to call your attention to 3 resources in there from NetApp. There's a link to find out more about NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP for Google Cloud. There's a link to sign up for a free trial of that, and there's a cool calculator to figure out how Google Cloud costs with Cloud Volumes ONTAP. Plus, stay tuned. Our guest speaker from NetApp will provide some more context around those links later and links to other resources also later in the presentation. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Now, third, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for that prize. The official terms and conditions are in the handout section as well. Just scroll down to the bottom there and you'll find the terms and conditions link there. Now, finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenter. And so to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. After the event is over, the team here at Actual Tech will look over all the questions that came in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. So with all that out of the way, let's get to today's fantastic content. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our expert presenter today from NetApp. It's Suraj Mohapatra, who's Business Development Manager for NetApp's efforts around Google Cloud. Suraj, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. So this is Suraj Mohapatra. I'm a Business Development Manager from the NetApp Google Cloud team. So today we are going to talk about Cloud Volume ONTAP in Google Cloud. So before we do that, I would like to kind of go through some pain points and the requirements customers have and how Cloud Volume ONTAP is addressing those issues. So all of you already know that customers are going through digital transformation, right? So today, digital transformation tops the strategic agenda in most organizations. Leaders are under tremendous pressure to harness today's wealth of data and apply it to create new value across the entire organization with limited time, skills, and budget. However, building a data-centric organization is no small undertaking. So we have close to 38,000 customers or more than that. And we have been asking questions, right, to them. So one of the questions that we are asking is, what are the challenges you're facing in your organization, running workloads in the cloud? So what they told us is nothing new for us. So companies across all industries are leveraging the cloud to drive business growth and innovation. But despite the fast cloud adoption, most traditional enterprise applications still run on premises, and they would like to migrate traditional applications to cloud, but it's not an easy task. Organization needs to modernize applications, acquire new knowledge, and update policies. This makes their cloud journey slow, expensive, and very complex. But there is an opportunity here. You can get the freedom to run traditional and cloud-native applications anywhere and move them across the hybrid multi-cloud without redesigning your code, your processes, or your teams. you can harness cloud advantages faster and at lower cost and get peace of mind, knowing that your data is always available, secure, and compliant. So let's see what really customers are looking for, right? So if you see, there are we have varieties of customers and they have different requirements, but one thing common, they want to easily move on-premise workload to cloud. They want to share files between Linux and Windows clients in cloud, seamlessly, provide blazing fast snapshots based on backup restore for their applications, and which will expedite, of course, their deployment. And they want to have space efficiency, clone, and database for their development and test environment. So basically, they can create the development system, test system, or a pre-prod system much faster, right? And easily set up their disaster recovery, based on their RPO and RTO, right? So, and also high availability plays a role here too. And they want to achieve all this in a very cost-effective manner. So while many of these capabilities do exist out there, right? But finding them and using them can be more complex than customer really realize, right? Then when customers are working with more than one cloud vendor, and which is right now most of the customers are doing that, the experience becomes basically unmanageable. Migration, data protection, moving data from one cloud to another, or on-premise back to cloud, it requires knowledge of multiple tools inside multiple interfaces, right? So all these pain points that we see here are the requirements. We have been addressing that, right, for a long time, and we have been thinking about that too as a company. So ONTAP is addressing all those things that we just discussed about. So let's look at ONTAP's journey. So customers, like particularly NetApp customers who have been running FAS or our flash system or flash arrays in their on-premise data center, they're used to ONTAP for a long time. And then we basically give them ONTAP Select, which will have like multiple features that we are just going to talk about, and kind of give a little bit of cloud kind of experience, right? And when customers decided that they're going to move from on-premise to cloud, basically, or they want to kind of not deal with on-premise data centers anymore and move to cloud, then we give them exact same experience in Google Cloud, with Cloud Volume ONTAP. And, we are just basically easily migrating them using our tools, those tools that's available, and we'll talk about it, and give them like the same experience what they're, already gone through on-premise. And they can manage it also. They can manage their own resources like the way they have been managing it on-premise, right? So let's look at what is Cloud Volume ONTAP, right? So when you look at Cloud Volume ONTAP, here you can see that it comes with multiple features. So before we look at the reference architecture, let's look at all the features that comes with it. So first of all, snapshot copies. So those of you who are familiar with snapshot copies, basically, you can take snapshot and restore very fast, right? But our snapshot, the way we work with NetApp snapshots are very different, right? Than our, compared to our competitors. So our snapshots are pointers based. We don't require exactly the same space like source where we're copying from, right? And we are providing customer multi-protocol environment where they can have NFS, iSCSI, CIFS, SMB, right? Kind of workload. And then thin provisioning, deduplication, compression, compaction, as you see here in this right-hand side box. These are there. These features are there to save money for the customer, right? And then encryption at the rest and in flight. Customers are worried about their security, and we basically address security through encryption. And the Snap Meter. Snap Meter makes it easy for the customers to migrate data from on-premise to cloud. And then Flex Clone. Cloning is one of the most important feature for ERP systems, right? When you are, particularly, let's take example of SAP. When you are cloning a database, it takes long time without using FlexClone. But once you use FlexClone, it's much faster, right? You can clone a database in fraction of minutes, right? And then you can go ahead and create your development or test or pre-prod systems very fast. And then SnapLock. So SnapLock basically locks the data. You can't alter the data, mistakenly delete something, right? And high availability. It comes with high availability based on customer's requirement, 99.99% by default, right? And then we provide the cold data tiering to object. So here, as you see in the diagram, that is a block storage in this case, in this example. And then you can keep 20% of the data in the hot tier and then move 80% of data to your cold tier, right? You can do that here. And as you in the diagram, you see we support NFS, iSCSI, CFS. And we'll see a reference architecture. How does it look? And we also provide Kubernetes integration with Trident. So Trident provides orchestration and the data connectivity for Kubernetes applications. So it is a Kubernetes container storage interface. It is a CSI driver and is deployed as a free open source offering from NetApp. So the NetApp ONTAP solution, in this case in Google Cloud, comes with rich data management for customer cloud resources, multi-protocol file and block data access, high availability storage for applications, advanced storage efficiency, and replication technologies, and flexible consumption model. And we'll see how you can consume in Google Cloud. And BlueXP is the brain behind it. So we used to call it Cloud Manager. Now the upgraded version or the improved version is called BlueXP. With BlueXP, you have a single pane control panel where you can consistently manage and monitor your data across clouds and on-premises. So let's talk about when your data grows, what happens, right? So we have thought about that too. So when the data grows, you can see that the storage efficiency kicks in, right? Here in the diagram, we see the TCO savings, right? With all these features that we just talked about, with these features, you'll start saving. The more data you have, the more savings you have. That is what we are saying here in the diagram. So this is the reference architecture. So let's look at the reference architecture here. So on the right-hand side box, you will see that the persistent disk from Google side, and it will be like the Google persistent disk, and there are different kinds of persistent disks based on your storage performance requirement. You can choose that, and then that will act like hot tier. And the right-hand side, it's a cloud storage, which is Google Cloud Storage, that is cold tier. So as I mentioned before, you can have 20% of the data or 10% of the data or 30% data, whatever, based on your calculation, you can keep on the hot tier. And then the other portion of the data can stay in the cold or the cloud storage, right? And then the compute engine is attached to it. And as you see, the Cloud Volume ONTAP sits on the persistent disk, right? And provides all the features that I have already mentioned to you. So it is a fully fledged version of ONTAP that customer used to on-premise. So those customers who have, who are already using it, for them, it's like, a single pane of glass, they can either manage their on-premise and also the resources in the cloud. And it consumes the native Google Cloud services. So basically, everywhere the Google resources are available, this is there. So, you can use it and pay for use consumption based model in the marketplace. And if the customer wants to use, get a nice discount, they can go with a private offer, and they can work with the cloud sales specialist from our team who can put together a nice proposal for them. And this solution is available and supported in all regions where Google resources are available. And the brain behind it to deploy it is BlueXP, and we'll talk about that. It's deployed and managed through BlueXP. So, I just created an example for you guys to kind of see, how it works. So basically, as you see on the left-hand side, it is on-premise data center where, the storage array is sitting there. It can be NetApp storage, or it can be, other storage. But if it is NetApp storage, in this case, we are showing like ONTAP running on top of the NetApp storage, and we are using SnapMirror. That's our tool we just talked about. That makes the migration much easier, like to move the data from on-premise to Google Cloud. And here, as you see, persistent disk, we just talked about as in the hot tier, and the cold tier, the Google Cloud storage is there. On top of that, Cloud Volume ONTAP is running, right? And providing you all the features that we just talked about. And on the top, you see multiple different applications running, basically. So in this case, particularly in the DR scenario, which is one of our common scenario that their customers are looking for to go with this solution, it's basically they can migrate the data from their on-premise, they can replicate the data to the storage in Google Cloud. And depending on their RPO and RTO, they can, like basically replicate the data, but not connect to the compute and not pay for that, and just pay for the storage. And then once the disaster is announced, they can go ahead and do a DNS change or IP reroute, and then connect the compute. So it all depends again on your RPO, RTO. If it is RPO, RTO is too low, then of course you have to do an active kind of solution, which is compute already connected to it. So using PDs or persistent disk with CVO is mandatory, right? As you see here. So when adding, Google Cloud Storage bucket to CVO, CVO automatically differentiates between frequently accessed data blocks or hot data, and infrequently accessed data block as cold data. So when cold blocks are detected, based on the cold data tiering policy used, cold blocks are seamlessly moved from PDs to GCS or cloud storage. So without refactoring the application, enabling scaling CVO capacity to PVs and save on storage cost. When cold data is read by an application, CVO repeats it automatically and brings it back to the PDs, right? So you can move data so you can see the movement data between the cold storage and hot storage when the data is required to be in the hot storage. So let's look at the next slide where we show the BlueXP, how the BlueXP works. So BlueXP is the brain behind how we deploy and manage CVO or Cloud Volume ONTAP. So BlueXP provides the IT experts and the cloud architects with a centralized control plan to manage, monitor, and automate data in hybrid cloud environments. So providing an integrated experience of NetApp's Cloud Volume platform. So as you see here, that with BlueXP, we can deploy Cloud Volume ONTAP instances in minutes. We can manage, your data replication volumes, from the data center to the cloud, achieve data security. We talked about all the security, features that's available. We can manage the encryption part of it. And build a hybrid environment quickly. And when it comes to hybrid environment, of course, CVO comes to the mind first, because it does a fantastic job when it comes to the hybrid kind of solution. And you can do it all with the BlueXP intuitive user interface, right? So, and BlueXP, of course, gives you a simple deployment management suite for Cloud Volumes ONTAP, right? So like I mentioned already, on a single pane of glass, you can, manage your on-premise resources and the cloud resources. So really, now we can, we saw what, problems and the pain points that our solution addresses. And let's go ahead and see on this slide that how we are addressing those issues, right? So first thing customers were looking for is quickly migrate the applications and run enterprise application file services in the cloud, right? And we are doing that. And we are doing with the tools I showed you with SnapMirror, and we have other tools like, if required, then we can use Cloud Sync, XCP. There are multiple, tools available to migrate data. And then maintain business continuity and keep your data secure. So we have solid security integrated with it. And of course, we can do, take care of high availability and disaster recovery. So, we can use SnapMirror to do that easily. And we can also use the backup is part of, CVO. So we can dramatically reduce the public cloud storage spend by using all the features. Then we have other products like DataSense and Cloud Insight to kind of reduce the cost. So with CVO, customers have the freedom to run traditional and cloud native applications anywhere and move them across the hybrid multi-cloud without redesigning their code, their processes, or their teams. They're harnessing cloud advantages faster and at lower cost, and getting peace of mind, knowing that their data is always available and secure and compliant. So let's look at some of the use cases, right? We have here. So the first use case is the hybrid cloud. So the hybrid cloud, when it comes to hybrid cloud, the first thing comes to our mind, as I told you, is Cloud Volume ONTAP. Why? Because our tools, like how we can migrate data, right, from the on-premise to cloud, or from one cloud to another cloud. So backup is one of the use case. DR, DevOps, native support, all of these we can do with hybrid cloud, right? And there are multiple customers taking advantage of the hybrid cloud solution. And the next solution that we just kind of built with Google is CVO with BigQuery. And multiple customers out there using BigQuery. So with BigQuery, you can move your data to CVO and take advantage of the cost savings, security, and compliance. And then you can, once the data is moved there, we can use CVO as data catalog, right? And we can create flex volumes, that we call it. And out of that, we can create data sets. So there are multiple teams, as you know, like in the AI team, who are working with data, and they can, different teams can work with different data sets or flex volumes. And, to protect the data, we can take snapshots. As I have already went through the snapshots, how does it work? And then we can create thin clone out of it, not touching the original data. We can take a copy of it. And then those copies we can send to BigQuery using Kafka Connect, right? And then, the data can be analyzed there in BigQuery. You can keep the data there, or if you want to, you can delete the data. So this is a very robust solution we have created. As I mentioned, it will, it can address the cost savings for customers, security part of it, compliance part of it, and we can address the chain of custody enforcement with it, data poisoning, and data corruption. And the next use case we'll talk about is SAP. So in SAP use case for HANA, a lot of customers are migrating to HANA right now, and they can use CVO for their shared files. And their HANA DB can run on the persistent disk. And I have already showed you how the persistent disk works. And then the next workload is Windows workload. So any Windows workload customers have, we can run on CVO, either in a hybrid model, or, if you want to kind of lift and shift your workload to cloud, that you can do too. And then we just created another solution, built solution with Google team that is called FlexPod Hybrid Cloud Solution. There are multiple FlexPod customers out there who don't have a good DR solution, and they can easily do a disaster recovery solution they can deploy in Google Cloud using the tool that I just mentioned, which is the SnapMirror, right, tool, or any other tools. If it is not NetApp storage or some other storage they are using, they can do that. But in this case, it is FlexPod, so it is basically NetApp storage. So we can go ahead and use SnapMirror and create a good DR solution, a backup solution, and a temporary system that they would like to create to do a pretty much like a testing or something, and delete it if they want to. And then we have another use case, which is the VMware use case. So in VMware, we can have the guest OS shared files, or a solution out there that customer can take advantage of. And then another workload that customer can look at is EDA, electronic data automation workload, and we are getting great performance from CVO. And there are multiple customers they have gone with EDA workload in Google Cloud. And then we have a solution called CVO FlexCache, when customers can take a portion of their data on-premise and pretty much cache it in Cloud Volume ONTAP and analyze data there. And once they're done with it, they can keep the data there or they can delete it. And then Cloud Volume ONTAP Edge Cache, that used to be called the Cloud File kind of solution, but it's the solution where customers have multiple sites, where they have some sites are very they're good with the bandwidth, and some sites they're not good with the bandwidth. So those those sites they don't have good bandwidth, they can use CVO Edge Cache, where we can consolidate all the data in CVO, and they can cache the data in the edge, where customers can have access to that data. And particularly it will work really well for customers who are having bandwidth problem in some of their sites. So let's go to the next slide. Here we'll talk about the customers who have already gone with CVO, right? And what they see. So NetApp in Google Cloud, we have agility, elasticity, flexibility, security, and availability. And you can deploy faster, you can consume more, and increase satisfaction. So let's see, one by one here, like what customers are seeing out there. So they have 70% of cost savings, that up to 70% of cost savings they're seeing there. And they would see that we are providing the storage security features that is pretty good, working out for them. That's whatever is their requirement, we are meeting those requirements. It's a multi-protocol for any workload with performance on demand. So we are basically providing, like as I mentioned to you, iSCSI, like block storage. Then they can have SMB, they can have NFS kind of workload running there, and they can deliver the project much faster with the features that I have already mentioned to you. And then simple data management, we make it very simple for the replication, and backup is part of CVO. It is already integrated with CVO. So as you see all of the right hand side boxes, we kind of address high availability, multi-performance classes. If the customer wants to start with low performance and go higher, we can do it dynamically. API driven Terraform providers, that we can automate stuff for the customer, and we can make it secure and compliant. Integrate monitoring that we can provide. And we already talked about snapshots. We talk about security, and we talk about DR and backups, right? So let's see, there are 7 kind of reasons why customers should look at Cloud Volume ONTAP in Google Cloud, right? The first one is cost. We drastically lower TCO for standard cloud storage. And then performance, faster response time when commodity block or file cloud storage resources. And as the performance based on what we already talked about, the PDs, the persistent storage from Google Cloud, and those of you who have experience with it, it has different performance level, and we can meet all performance levels. And portability, right? So we can replicate the data from one zone to another, one region to another, and with all the features or all the tools available from our side. And protection, we find protection like with our backup solution, right? And it's fully integrated there. And and snapshots, where we can restore the data really fast. And security, we have built-in security that you can control. And flexibility, so managed storage in Google Cloud or on-premise. As you know, we have Blue XP, where you can easily do that in a single pane of glass, right? And availability, we provide continuous data availability. If by default we have 99.9 availability, and as far as DR goes, we can meet any DR RTO requirement. So with that, let me go to the next slide and talk about a tool that's like customers should use if they're thinking about Cloud Volume ONTAP. So this Cloud Volume ONTAP TCO calculator is a great free tool. So that lets you easily calculate your storage cost on Google Cloud with with Cloud Volume ONTAP. So it is very simple to use. And if you are having issue, you can always reach out to your cloud sales specialist who can walk you through how does it work, right? And then different licensing model, we can work with you that, and then we can, like, we have licensing model where we can provide you multiple or unlimited backups, right? And it comes with HA and all that, and you can find out how much savings you'll have with this TCO calculator. And the next slide, where we'll talk about the resources that's available to you. You can go and explore. This is the TCO calculator is one of them. Cloud Volume ONTAP, .com will provide you all the information that you need for ONTAP. You can always explore all of these links here. With that, I will go and to the question and answer session. Scott, back to you.
All right, super. Yeah, really interesting presentation. Lots of great info here. I've got questions of my own, but the audience has a lot of questions too. So let's get straight into those.
Sure.
Let's see. There's a question here from Jeffrey who's wondering: is there an egress charge?
Yes. So it depends on where the data is moving from and how the data movement is happening, right? Once we do a analysis with the customer, like kind of to go through their plan of deployment, we can tell them, where the egress charge is.
Okay, super. We had a few questions from Sivaraj. One of those is the product or tier cost directly proportional to the amount of data?
I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Let me repeat it. Sorry about that. Is the product or tier cost directly proportional to the amount of data?
Tier cost. So if you are talking about the data tiering, if they're moving data from one tier to another, so it's basically once we do the analysis with the customer, what percentage of data will stay on the hot tier and what percentage of data would go to the cold tier, we can do the analysis with the customers and provide them how the cost structure or the proposal will look like and how we'll design the solution, basically.
Okay. Yeah,
so it depends on customers. It varies customer to customer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot about the cost savings. That's a powerful story. I want to get back to that, but I wonder if this question also might be about just like how the NetApp licensing works. Just like broadly, how you pay for it. Is it by amount of data or users, or how does that work?
So when we have right now capacity-based licensing, right? So we can talk to the customer and show them the licensing that works best for them, right? I mean, depending on their requirement. So we have varieties of customers, right? Some customers, they're just looking for single node. They don't need any high availability, right? Or there are customers who are looking for solid high availability solution and a DR solution, right? So depending on customers' requirement, we can go ahead and provide the right licensing, right? So we have essentials licensing and we have professional. So for example, if a customer is looking for unlimited backup, right? Looking for HA, right? A robust HA DR solution. So now, of course, we'll go ahead and offer them a professional license. This is just an example I gave you, but depends on we always want to kind of sit down with the customer, do a analysis, thorough analysis, what customers are looking for, then provide them the exact, kind of solution they need.
Okay. All right. Super. There was another question here. Is NetApp a SAN or NAS? And I think you talked a little bit about the architecture of,
Correct.
Cloud Volumes ONTAP. But maybe you can kind of go back through that and how that works, and then how that relates to SAN and NAS.
So basically, in this particular scenario, CVO, the CVO product, I mean, it is basically is going to cover not only the block storage, it is covering SMB, it's covering NFS, it's covering everything, right? So we have another product which is called CVS, Cloud Volume Service. That's our solution, our storage, right? That is where we are using only NAS, right? We are not using SAN. But when but you're talking about like file storage, right? It's only file storage. But when it comes to the CVO person, right? I mean, that is where the SAN is allowed. That means we are doing the block storage, right? That's what I just talked about.
Okay, all right, super. And another question here from Sivaraj: does NetApp offer a scalable solution in the cloud? Are there any sort of scalability limits in the cloud?
No, we don't have any scalability limit. I mean, we have like minimum to start with, right? We provide a minimum to for the CVO, right? It the volume will go from 100 gig to 368 terabyte. But we are but that's like we have a limit to start with, but there is no limit on top.
Okay, all right, super. Yeah, and then just a question for me. You talked about that 70% cost savings. Where do those cost savings come from? What do you see with customers as far as what they're saving on when they're using your solution?
So basically, we have multiple customers already running CVO in Google Cloud, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk to the customers and we try to kind of find out like what features they have been using and where they see the savings, so it comes from multiple sources, right? I mean, it can come from like how many people they were using on premise before and how many people there are right now, like are there who are like managing their systems, right? From there, starting from, how they're saving with all our features, right? With our features means I'm talking about when they're taking snapshots, they're doing, the snap meter, and they're using cloning and all that, right? So how many days they used to take before and now, how many days they take to kind of clone their database and have a new instance available to the customer and all that. So multiple parameters plays a role here, right? So when you put all those parameters together, then you come up with a number. So basically, we took an average number to show it to the customer that this is what the customers are saving.
All right, super. Yeah, and then just a reminder to everybody there. So on this screen here, there's a link to the Cloud Volumes TCO calculator. It's also in the handouts. It's a really neat calculator that you can use to determine what the savings would be in your environment. You also mentioned portability being a key feature for customers, and just if I can just go back to this one slide here. This was a great slide showing all the different solutions that you guys have jointly developed with Google Cloud. Does this cover most of the scenarios that your customers are interested in, or are there some other big ones on the roadmap that you can talk about?
Yeah, we are always working with new solutions, right? So right now we are working with a solution called, like there are multiple customers who are having Epic workload, for example. So right now we are, testing Epic, right? How it's going to work with CVO and all that, right? But we are always coming up with new solutions and, addressing customer pain points, right? Yeah. And when it comes to portability, I mean, like, you just asked, there are, multiple tools that we have. And that is why NetApp is famous for, because of our tools, right? And, CVO is a SaaS solution, right? So it runs on top of Google Persistent Storage. Right? So the Google Persistent Storage is taking advantage of all our tools, right? So one of the tools that I talked about is SnapMeter, like how we migrate, or move data or replicate data from on-premise to cloud or from cloud to cloud, right? And we have other tools, as I mentioned while I was talking, as Cloud Sync or XCP, right? So depending on customers' requirement, we can use a proper tool to make the customer's data move easy or seamlessly from one place to another.
Okay. All right, super. Well, Suraj, I think we've gotten through most of the questions. Last one, I just want to ask you. There's a lot of links on here, a lot of great information. If somebody just really wants to get started with Cloud Volumes ONTAP, specifically on Google Cloud, any recommendations for a good place to start?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say, of course, they can go online, all these links, they can click and start going through it. But I believe they're interested, they can go ahead and do a POC with us. I mean, just to test it out, how it will work for them. And of course, they can use the TCO calculator, right, to calculate, right, this much of data we are trying to move, to Google Cloud, and, how much money we're going to save and all that. And then they can talk to, one of our cloud sales specialists in our team, who can walk them through the licensing, what is available from our side, how we can create a private offer and give them a big discount. And also, we can also show them that, hey, let's go through, analyze your data. I mean, what workload we are talking about here, right? And then we can go ahead and provide a nice, solution, or build a nice solution with our cloud solutions architects.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. This is really appreciate the update on on NetApp and the Cloud Volumes ONTAP with Google Cloud. This has been really interesting. Appreciate all the insights in the Q&A as well. Okay, and I'm going to leave those slides up there, or the links up there, just for a minute while we do our prize drawing, just in case anybody didn't click on any of those resources that they wanted. I don't want to take those away from you before the end here. But before we do wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the Amazon gift card drawing. And the winner of the $250 Amazon gift card today is Jay McNair from Texas. So congratulations to Jay. We'll be in touch about getting you your card. And of course, we do have that $50 Best Question gift card that we will pick after the event is over and contact the winner there. But with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank NetApp for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.